have to be incorporated into the tapes themselves. Do you have quite a large studio that you do this? How is this produced?
I don't know if I'd call it a large studio, but it's jam-packed full of equipment, and the fellow that does all the recording for us, he recorded our first program some 5 years ago, which was our weight loss program. His name is Frank Merwin, and he's a retired General Motors account executive. He worked at the Tech Center in Warren, Michigan, and he's also president of the Pontiac Area Musicians Union, and he's a very credible man, and everything that he does is top quality, and he makes sure that it's exactly the way it's supposed to be, because it's the measuring and the recording of the frequencies that's the key to success with our SCWL subliminal technique. And it takes Frank between 9 and 24 hours to record one program. It's a very time-consuming process. Now, if he does it perfectly, it's 9 hours. If he makes some kind of an error, if the frequencies weren't at the proper decibel level, he does everything over until it's right. But he has spent 24 hours of actual time recording a program for us.
The messages are what, strictly electronic, or are they verbal?
No, they're all
cannot be heard.
They're all verbal suggestions, and we do some electronic things with those, which is part of the technique.
So there is voices involved in it, but you just can't hear them.
Right.
There was something I was reading about that said something about you could hear faintly. If you could hear a whisper, you might be able to hear messages. That's not true?
Yes. Unfortunately, we men don't have hearing that's quite as acute as the female. And a normal frequency range is 2,000 to 4,000 cycles per second is the average for normal speech. And when you get up below 2,000 and you get above 4,000, we tend to lose our sense of hearing. There was a time on this earth when man's hearing, he could hear up to 25,000 cycles per second, but that's when his survival depended on his hearing and his eyesight. They were very, very acute and intense. The dog whistle that can be blown that we can't hear, that a dog hears. There was a time when Neanderthal man could hear that. He had to, or he would be, his life depended on it. But through time, it's been less and less important that we depend on our sense of hearing for survival, so it's right down now to a range of about 2,000 to 4,000 cycles per second. Some women can hear in the upper ranges 6, 8, and even 10,000 cycles per second. So every once in a while, I have a phone call or a letter from someone that says, "Hey, I can hear everything on this tape." And it just happens.
What do you do in that case, when they can hear everything?
Don't tell anybody.
That's wild. Let's talk a little about the subconscious. You talked about that a little bit at the beginning, and I understand that the mind can actually, what was I hearing? Something about 400 messages or something like that a second or something your mind is capable of handling?
First of all, let me get kind of basic, and because a lot of people may not really know that they have 20 billion little things in their mind, and the mind is made up of neurons. A neuron looks something like a hand, and that there's a nucleus, and each nucleus has 5 fingers on it, and each finger connects with another nucleus, and this system of nucleuses with the fingers is to the tune of 10 to 20 billion in the human mind. Dr. Carl Sagan, who people just generally refer to as Cosmos, he's on one of those other TV stations, he says that you put those neurons end to end and they would reach to the moon. Well, when information is picked up by one of our senses, that information is stored in this complex system of neurons which transfers information in the form of electronic impulses. We have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. Our conscious mind is that part of us, which I said before, which determines right from wrong, good from bad. It's analytical, it determines results. It basically is what we are. Our subconscious mind does none of those things. It is responsible for the storage of information, motor functions, emotions, but its primary reason for even being part of us is that it's a goal satisfier. The conscious mind thinks up the goals, whether they're known or unknown, and the subconscious mind satisfies those goals of the conscious mind with any information that it has to, that it has picked up over the lifetime of the individual. Unfortunately, at a lot of the goals that we have consciously, which we don't sit down and say the word goal, we might be worried about how we're going to pay the house payment on Friday, and how we're going to buy groceries, and how we're going to get the kids shoes for school, and we spend so much time thinking about money and indebtedness and the problems that are created that is picked up by the subconscious mind to be a strong goal of the conscious mind. Now, the subconscious function is to satisfy goals, and it will almost to the point of bankruptcy. In fact, it will to the point of bankruptcy, and that's what I meant about negative goals. You have to really kind of be careful about what you spend your time thinking about, because what you spend your time thinking about will come to pass. I think the Bible gives us a whole lot of clues on things that we can use our mind and how powerful our mind really is. And I like the way Andrew Carnegie put it. He said, anything the mind of man can conceive and believe, it will achieve. And he didn't say maybe or guess what. He said that if you can think of something and you believe it, belief is the key, you will achieve it. And that's really how our mind works. It's a success-oriented mechanism. Think of something, dwell on it with everything you have, and it's just like saying it's mine.
Of course, that's true in careers today, too.
It really
because
is.
if you decide you want to be something and do something bad enough, it normally happens, right? Because, again, you have thought about it all of your life, and you've made plans to do that.
You're the only one that can stop you. And Midwest Research programs are that little kick in the pants, that little help, that little assistance that people need, because they really have the greatest, well, let me say the second greatest gift in the human mind that God gave us, and they don't need anybody, they don't really need anything, because they already have what they need to do whatever they want to do, to become whatever they want to become. Unfortunately, this negative kind of conditioning that's built up over the years takes over and dominates all too many of us. And our programs are to help those people get some positive information going in a positive direction that they want to make a change with.
Do people get hooked on tapes?
Boy, I am.
I mean, do you get to the point where you feel you have to listen
No,
to the
because
tape on a regular basis?
We probably could if we programmed them right. And credibility and integrity, I think, are probably the most important thing to my partner Dave Berg and myself. And we have suggestions, and I'll tell you what those suggestions are on every program that we do. And the real key is, and I'm going to quote the suggestion, the information on this tape is part of me and I use it always. Now that suggestion, the way it's worded, throws the total dependence of the tape off, because once the information is there, it's repeated enough that my subconscious mind is using that information, then it doesn't need the tape anymore. So I have had people who have lost 100 pounds, several of them, and one lady in particular had called me back and she said, it's been a year and a half and I've started to gain some weight. What would you suggest? Get the tape back out. It's sort of like backsliding. If all of a sudden you find yourself not going to church and you want to use that term backsliding, kick yourself in the pants and get going again. And it really does work. So I can't say that the total dependence, the total dependence would never be needed. But if you feel like you need it, use it. It's there. You always have the cassettes.
Nick, what can you see as the future of this new organization? We call it new. You've been in business 5 years, but it sounds like it's fast growing, and you're already marketing throughout the world. What do you think is going to happen in the future with all these tapes? Where will they be used and how?
They'll be used by individuals for the major portion. We have a lot of institutions that are involved in research projects and using them in industry for dealing with stress and different problems of business. But the company has been in business for 5 years, but the multi-share or the multi-level marketing program has just been in existence for 6 months. And it's gotten a good start, but the direction that it's going, I see that it has the potential to be either the largest or one of the largest multi-level distribution companies in the world. There's a lot of interest, unfortunately more interest in other countries at this point, but I think the American people, as a basis, are maybe a little more skeptical than other people, and it's prove it to me or show me. And that's the process we're going through. It may take a little longer, but I think when we have the belief in this country that other countries already have, that it's going to be a very solid foundation.
It sounds like businesses can make use of it, and they already are if they're putting them into stores to try to help in certain areas. I can see where it's kind of scary in a way when you think about programming the mind. It could be used in reverse to be very harmful too, couldn't it?
There could be negative programming. There's no question about that.
I mean, if people can be convinced not to shoplift, they could also be convinced to steal, could they not?
I guess it comes down to the integrity of the company. This company's been approached by people to produce tapes that are considered to be manipulative in nature, and this company will not do that. Fortunately, Midwest Research has the most successful track record on audio subliminal programs. There are other companies, but they don't have the secret that Midwest Research has, whether they found it by accident or just through great skill and research. They're the only one that has the secret, and they're not going to let go of it, and they're not going to be involved in making programs that are manipulative in nature.
It was very impressive to hear about what is being done in this area. I understand you're even into some schools. Fred heard about that earlier, right? How do they work with schools? Basically, what involvement would you have in schools?
We have two typing programs that are being researched, and a reading program, reading with retention and comprehension, a speed reading program. I have drug and alcohol programs being researched, which could be very, very beneficial. I have some basketball programs and football programs that are being used. Plus I have a doctor in California who's researching a triple blind study actually with ice skaters. We have a research program right now. I can't mention the university, but it's certainly one everybody in Michigan has heard of. Researching a dental phobia program with the help of several dentists from right up here in northern Michigan. So research is ongoing, and we're trying to get the programs into the school system, because my personal opinion is that research in health and educational fields is where we're headed.
How available is the research data?
Definitely, we have it in the office. I have studies we use from Harvard and Tufts and other schools.
Very good. Well, again, we thank you much for coming in. Keep us posted. It's interesting to hear about new projects, and this one based right here in Michigan, which is, again, where we're located in?
Our office is in Pontiac, Michigan.
Pontiac, okay.
We're also located right here in Cadillac, Michigan.
That's right. In fact, I understand they're going to be having a meeting. We want to relate this since it is local representative for Midwest Research here in Cadillac is Casey Hillard. And if you want more information, you could call her, obviously, at 775-8785. Also, Stefan's Drugstore, I understand they're now selling tapes. They are marketing them here already. $25 a piece, is that correct? And for people interested or wishing to become involved, I understand you have a meeting at McGuire's. And that's set for Wednesday, April 25th at 7:30. So you can find out more information about subliminal tapes. We told you we were going to be talking about your minds today.
That's right.
We did it, didn't we?
Good.
Again, thank you much for being with us. We want to thank Lynn Stitz, who's Vice President of Midwest Research, for being with us today and mixed